Welcome everyone to Loud and Proud Orlando. It's Tuesday, December the 16th, 6:01 p.m. We are live. Thank you so much for your support. If you're watching later on or if you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, make sure you're dropping your comments. We'll probably answer you in the next days to come, as well as at the live show, on the next live show. Make sure you subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Click on the notification bell for all notifications. We are growing, and today what brings us we a back-to-back pod we were on yesterday. We were talking about other topics, but today they hit us with back-to-back news. We kind of knew this was probably going to occur. We didn't know it was going to be a Tuesday, but good thing John and I had the spare time to make it work. But today we're going to be discussing on the confirmation of the news that we broke down as well here of Rodrigo Schlegel being sold by Atlas, being sold to Atlas as a transfer. Also, Kyle Smith leaving the club and his legacy with Orlando City, how that impacts, and when it comes to depth. Also, Leagues Cup 2026, a big upheaval of the fandom, saying, why are we playing this cup? We'll respond onto all your questions, as well as Justin Hilton from the Academy, Orlando City Academy, was signed for Orlando City B for the MLS Next Pro. So big signing for OCB was announced today. So we have 4 pieces of news to discuss with you today. So again, stay tuned, sit tight, and enjoy the ride. I'm here with John. John, what's up, my friend? Good to see you.
Yeah, man, we were talking yesterday about what might come later in the week. I was thinking we'd be back to talk about Super Draft, and then today there was a different plan from the club. There's several things. I mean, we'll get into them and start with Rodri. This was the one we talked about last week that Tom Bogut had discussed, that there was a sale on the table for him to go to Atlas for, I think it was around 600K was what Tom was saying in that post. So if that's the amount, then I think that's a good fee for him. And I think it's the right move. I know some people are skeptical. I know there's this like concern over selling all our players and like, what are we doing? You just got to have faith. You just got to have patience. You got to trust that Ricardo knows what he's doing. He's cooking. And, we're not just selling players and going to go into the team at the beginning of the year with like half a roster. It's just not the way it's done. So they're only going to let guys go if they have a plan to bring in someone else, if they have an idea to improve the squad. So this is growing pains, Luis, right? Progress. You got to break some eggs to make an omelet. And in this scenario, guys like Schlegel, I think we knew his ceiling. He's a good player in MLS, but he's not a great player. And at this age, if he's got a better opportunity in another club, I think it's the right thing. Move him on, get him off the books. Let's get some fresh blood in. But, we're going to talk a little bit more about him and his legacy, because I feel like he's one that also kind of pulls on the heartstrings of some people too.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, he's a fan favorite. For good and bad. Sometimes some fans really don't like him. He's been erratic a couple times. Obviously, very passionate guy for the sport. One of the most passionate people I've met when it came to people from OCSC. Um, I mean, this is, like you said, this is a calculated, I feel, financial and performance optimization move for Orlando City. Um, his 2025 season, in my opinion, feels like it was a peak, not only in playing time, but also highlighted some areas in which the club is probably seeking to upgrade, especially if you want to build for not only the future, but for now to win something, And so clearly he's been one of the most reliable players we've ever had in Orlando City history in terms of availability and minutes. I feel his role, it's been a foundational role And like you said, he's definitely not an elite center back for sure, but he shows his value as a defensive presence, as a defensive um, figure, somebody with leadership that consistently will do anything to clear the danger from the box. So um, definitely is a purely defensive center back with very limited progressive play contribution. So the way the game and the way I think Orlando City is playing now, we need to be a little bit more versatile in several positions. And, you know, I feel like an improvement is being sought after by the club. So definitely for getting that much money from Atlas, which actually Atlas needs the opposite of what we do. Atlas, per sources, they need a leader, they need a locker room guy, they need a vocal guy, they need a purely defensive, clearing in the box type of defensive, player, somebody that's going to be not afraid of just, picking up, kind of like a co-captain, like somebody who's going to rally the team, rally the troops. And I think he fits perfectly on that role. Some say that, I was talking to one of my friends there that covers MLS, Josue. He's been part of the LPO, guest at some point, and he's telling me, yeah, this is someone Atlas desperately needs, somebody with that type of level of presence. And I think for 28, for somebody that, you know, of his caliber that we right now are trying to improve on those positions, getting that amount of money, I think it's great. I think it's a great change of weather for him. It's a great business for us. I think as for the club at least. So it's great. For a veteran of our team to get that much money, I think it's fantastic. I think we need to find somebody that is more consistent, that is more on the progressive ball playing, kind of like what we see with David Brecalo, that's more versatile, able to play two different positions without giving up on the defensive solidity. So um, great business, I think, for Orlando. And also, I wish the best to Rodrigo. I think Rodrigo, this picture is very iconic, especially, people remember him what he did against NYCFC as well. The first playoff win in Orlando City history. So, mind you, he's etched in the history of the club, and he's a phenomenal human being. So, John, what are your takes?
Let's read some comments, and then I got a few more thoughts on Rodri.
Sure. Seth says, here's to hoping these billionaire owners are finally taking this club seriously, boys. Definitely. Guilla Carlos, Schlegel, I might not always agree with his playing, but he always gave it 1,000%. Thank you, my friend. James Beam 10. Evening, guys. Haven't got to a live in a while. Been listening on Spotify. You guys are crushing it with all the content. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you, my friend. What's up? What's up, Papa C? Thank you, my friend. Appreciate Stream Jesus. The Nerdiverse, it says, with Schlegel gone and potential new center back signing, would Jensen see the bench? I mean, I would probably think so. Again, I don't know if he's going to be the captain next season. I would think he'll probably still remain the captain, but I mean, I'm on your side there, Nerdiverse, for sure. Landon, we're selling everyone but Angulo, Muriel, and Marin. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's not the guys you want to see go, huh?
Well, hey, people are allowed to express and be vocal on their opinions, and I mean, there are three players that have not really impressed. I think two of them have disappointed, and one of them has not impressed. So, eh, you know. So, what are your thoughts on Schlegel? Departing the club, John.
Just firstly on the amount of money that we got. I mean, I did go back and check on Tom's post, and he was saying 600K when he posted that. When was that? December 10th.
Mhm.
According to Transfermarkt, I don't know where they get their information. Like I know they're usually pulling from other sources.
Yeah.
So somewhere in some source it says this 2 million. I don't know if that's accurate.
No.
That seems insane to me.
I think that's
So
his
I don't know if
valuation.
that's true. I don't know, but I was looking there to see what apparently we paid. Apparently, according to this, we paid 400,000 euros. I don't remember us paying that much for Schlegel. Maybe there was a small transfer fee. I thought we didn't pay a transfer fee because we got him at the on loan and then got him at the end of that loan on a free. I thought so. Maybe none of this is right, but I think we've got something for Schlegel. I don't know what we've got for him, but it seems like Atlas are willing to pay for a 28-year-old. And then I just want to kind of look at his career here with Orlando City. Like he's been here a long time, Luis. Like way back since 2021 and sorry, even 2020. In that season, he only got 13 starts. Then 2021, he had 13 appearances, 23 appearances in 21, 36 in 22, 32 in 23, 36 in 24, and then 40 last year. So he has been increasing his amount. I think the last few years we hear a lot of people say like, I love Rodrigo Schlegel, but he's not a starter, right? He's not a guy that we want to be the starter. And the longer he was here, he got more and more, time and opportunity, and we kind of found him being more relied upon and picked. And he is a good player, but he definitely had those moments, right? He had those moments where he would Schlegel it up and do something really stupid. But he for me isn't a great like MLS center back. I don't think he's an MLS center back that can win you the league. And I think that we've seen him so much. It was almost like Oscar was too reliant on him. And I've also talked about the fact that I'd love to see center backs for us that are a bit more physical. And Schlegel is a decent size, but he's not the biggest center back. And I think in League MX, it'll suit more. It's not as an aggressive as a physical, as as fast paced, I think, as MLS. And sometimes like it's a different kind of league there. It's a lot more technical. The players aren't as big. So maybe Rodrigo Schlegel suits that kind of league more. We'll have to see, but I wish him all the best. And I think it makes total sense. Like we said, like we can't ask for progress. We can't ask to improve and then be upset when they sell guys like Schlegel. Like this is what it takes. You got to move on from some players. And I feel like we'd seen his ceiling, and the ceiling just it was okay, but I feel like we can get better.
Again, lack of ambition. I don't think it's the name of what some fans refer onto the club is doing. I feel Orlando as a different market than LA, Miami, Chicago, et cetera, et cetera. We've been drilling that for the longest time. We've always done the right thing, following our culture. And, if you think about it, these are two defenders, we'll talk about Smith in just a moment, that, they're both going to be etched in Orlando City history. I think the Schlegel moment should deserve some sort of big mural or something like that, forever. But you have to understand, Schlegel was making over $500,000 a year, and I believe it was 600,000 total guaranteed, with bonuses and stuff. And Smith was bringing in, I think it was 280 or 270. I'm not quite sure in base, and over 300,000 in total guaranteed. So that means that both leaving the club right now, it clears up $1 million of Orlando City's books. And because we have to play by the rules, obviously, I think this comes, number one is interesting that they made quite a hefty profit on Schlegel, plus because there's going to be some profit on Schlegel's transfer for sure. I know that the number, John was mentioning, people being toying around with the numbers, but there's going to be definitely profit from Schlegel. So it's going to be over $1 million cleared up plus whatever Schlegel is bringing up. So it's definitely Moreira is putting his own stamp on things now. and obviously the departures of some key figures like Pedro, now Schlegel, Smith, the conversations he had with Jansen, probably tough conversation too, saying, hey man, we needed you to be, that captain, we need to be up there, so I think that shows some vision to change, like, like we were talking on the last pod, ambition on reload, not rebuild, and I'm excited. So, it's sad that we're going to lose them, but I'm excited.
Yes, indeed. And I thought, we can't say goodbye to Schlegel. We can't give him his forever a lion moment without,
Oh my God, that was
talking about and,
insane.
and showing that moment. So if you have not seen this, Atlas, and I saw you reposted it, Luis.
Yeah.
Atlas had put out the full video of this moment, saying, hey, we signed a new center back, but he can also play goalkeeper. So let's relive. Oh no, we don't have any sound.
Oh yeah, I can hear it.
You can hear it? Okay.
Yep.
I don't know. It doesn't play for me. I don't get sound. I mean, it was a great moment. I mean, what a save by Rodri.
I
Just,
mean,
see if I can pause it.
he needs a statue, bro.
Like,
That's a really insane moment.
look at this save Techers here for
Yeah.
Rodri. I mean, you gotta
And
love
I
it.
remember at that time, NYCFC was flying.
Yeah. And then the other bit that just the celebration, somewhere here where he just does the arms into the chest is just
Yeah.
this moment is just so iconic, I think. So yeah, I mean, we're always going to remember, it's going to go down in the history books as one of the greatest, moments. I think they have something to do with this. I think they have the gloves or something. So yeah, it's the guy will be forever remembered for that, but he wore his heart on his sleeve every game, and that's this kind of player he was. And so many tackles I can think about where he just like would run back and make a sliding tackle or a last ditch poke away from a defender, or he get up and psych the crowd up because he made such a great tackle or something like that. So we're gonna miss that part of Rodri too. Like he was a I think about that speech in the locker room. They put it in his goodbye video on YouTube for the club as well. But he just has such passion. Like here, you can see the way he talks about the game, the way he talks about the other players. So we're gonna miss that side of him for sure.
100%. I remember his celebration at CR7. I remember I remember that. His celebration at CR7. The music, playing that Argentinian cumbia right there in the locker room. That was Rodri, that is kind of his stamp. And not only it's a player that really loves the city, really loves Orlando. He knows the mark he's left here. And I mean, thanks to the club, when he first came, he was very green. I mean, he was very green. He had, I think, one game with OCB, and then he went into the first team and he was getting limited minutes because, he was a little green. And just like everybody else that came from, clubs in Argentina that maybe were not Boca or River Plate, it took him a little bit of adjusting, and then he became Jensen's partner, and he just was there to stay. And it's been, I think, a legend for the club for sure, especially for what that playoff win meant for Orlando at that time. It was a turning point, I believe, a turning point moment for the club. So I think he'll be etched in the club's history forever.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's gonna be one that we will always remember just because he's a personality, right? I think that's key.
100%, man. I
Alrighty.
think we have some more comments. Let's go ahead and read some comments real quick. I have Spicy Gnocchi reposted the stream. Thank you, my friend, for doing that. Copa Sectic Buddha, thank you so much. It says, fingers crossed, the next Forever Lion post I see is Muriel. There you go. Appreciate you for the comment. Um, Yeah, hopefully, I think he's been hinting, a lot of pundits from Colombia are talking about how he's pretty much saying he loves Junior and would like to come, but it's not his. It doesn't depend on me. He said it on an interview. It
Yeah.
doesn't depend on me. It kind
He's
of pretty
quite
much.
happy to go to Colombia and give interviews, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. He's giving interviews
It's
to
not a good
different.
look.
Yeah, he's giving interviews to different outlets, and he's wearing the jersey as a.
Yeah. He's doing
You know,
everything that you do before you want to move to Colombia, right? Like,
yeah,
that's what
yeah.
players do
So
if they wanna move
now,
somewhere.
now he's making it very known. Before he was being politically correct. Now I feel he's making it very known, and I guarantee you the club is going to
If
try to
they
do
smell a way
something
to make it happen, they'll do it, yeah.
because I feel mentally, guys, and based on knowing some of the banter that goes in that locker room. Obviously, a lot of the key figures have left the club. It's a new regime now. It's a new sheriff coming in, a new vision, and I don't really feel Muriel fits that, in my opinion. And that's not being disrespectful, just being completely real. And to add to that, again, let's see what this season pans out. And just like a lot of key figures of Orlando City that you've grown to love, Pedro, Rodri, Kyle, are leaving the club and without hesitation, telling them, hey, I'm not going to have minutes for you. Look for a team, you know, it's on Oscar now too, as well. You know what I mean? So I don't think that whole, you know, I think he's going to make the moves based on the needs of the club to build a really good team to win now. And then we'll see and we'll discuss that later on for the Leagues Cup. But I just feel like it's important to say moves are going to be made, are going to be made, and I think the club is ambitious enough to try to go and win now. So
The last thing I noticed on this is that I didn't know this, but Atlas is apparently the city of fury,
yeah,
and I
intense, on a personal level too. Super funny, like
oh, I'd
very
love to go. If
intense.
anyone was like, "Who could you go out for a night with?" on their, I'd be like Schlegel. Take me
Yeah,
out, which that sounds fun.
yeah, very competitive.
Alrighty. Shall we talk about the other person who has left?
Yeah, to quote Oscar Pereja, the best player he's ever coached. So certainly, Kyle Smith, a player that came from you know former Orlando City coach James Sakon, one I think one of the worst coaches the club has have. And I'm sorry, I know people like him. It was a USL, but I mean, USL is one thing, MLS is another thing. He brought Kyle Smith to Orlando after winning back-to-back USL titles with him in Louisville City, which at some point it was partners of Orlando City. And Smith signed on December 21st, 2018. And he definitely outlasted James O'Connor. And so he is definitely one of those players that his whole career needs to be on a movie or a book. I feel like his tenure with Orlando, it's been nothing but growth for him. I think as a soccer player, adapting to the MLS rhythm with such poise and be such a team guy, it's the reason, and to be so coachable. It's one of the reasons what Oscar said. It's a pleasure to he's the best player I've ever trained or I've ever the best asset I've ever had in a club has been him, because he could play so many positions and give his 120%, you know. But again, this I feel it's a move for rebuild, not rebuild, but it's kind of reload our depth chart because he is a player that sometimes has not been consistent again. But, this is an opportunity for players like Taifi, the young cats from OCB, the ones that have the best numbers, to, you say goodbye to somebody like Kyle Smith, but you're opting, even though he's a beloved and versatile club legend, this is the club's way of saying opting for asset appreciation, so developing young talent over veteran depth, especially in a salary bracket. So it's going to be, bringing in a Taifi is not going to hit the wallet that much. And it's a common and necessary strategy, as you've seen in Philadelphia, as you've seen in Columbus, as you've seen in Nashville, a necessary strategy for teams looking to stay in cap compliant. With that cap compliant, being cap compliant and also staying competitive, because you got to have trust on the Alex Freemans. You have to have trust on the Zachary Taifis. You have to have trust on the Colin Guskis. So it immediately frees up a valuable depth senior roster spot and a mid-tier salary. So, even though it hurts to say and hurts to see him go, for everything he gave to the club, it was best for business. So
I found his signing
wow.
article from Orlando City. I forgot that he signed with Greg Rajit Singh, if you remember him,
Yeah, I
from
remember
in
that guy.
2018, right?
Wow.
From the USL, from Louisville, like you said. James O'Connor brought him over from there. I'm trying to see if there was an amount. I don't think they disclosed that. Yeah, talking about he was 26 when he signed from Louisville. So on a deal with him and Greg together on a twofer. Yeah, I mean, just everything you said is true. He's legend of the club in many ways, not like from being the best player, but from just being a definition of forever a Lion, right? He's that guy
100%.
that you look at his post here. I think Wilder says it best. His comment on the post saying, "You're the best soldier. Thank you for everything you gave this team. You're a great example. Success is my bro." I mean, I think that's right. You're the best soldier is exactly.
100%. Yeah.
Kyle is like Mr. Reliable, gets his head down, gets on with it. Doesn't matter where you play him, doesn't, question, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. Just has that attitude of like, I'm going to bring the level of professionalism just to everything that he did. And, year after year, we were wondering like, oh, is this the end of Kyle Smith? Is this the end of Kyle Smith? And like, then he'd be back for another year. Then he'd be back for another year. And like, he just kept getting renewals and kept proving like, hey, I'm valuable. I can bring you something. I'm not a starter, but I am there when you need me. And the amount of times he's played center back, or like we saw him filling in at, like you said, at D mid and stuff this year. Like, so he is Mr. Versatile. He's an American player. I thought he finally proved enough where it doesn't matter how much you pay him, right? He's that guy and he's so fit. And I thought he could do another year and they would just be like, okay, the one exception would be Kyle Smith. Like they were going to bring him back on less money, but he's also the tax man and he's an accountant. And I don't know this is for sure, but I think he negotiates his own deals. I think he doesn't have an agent. Don't quote me on this, but I believe that's true. So, he's negotiating and they probably said to him, like, we can't pay you as much as last year. And at a certain point, he's probably like, I think I'm going to go do something else. We don't know. Maybe he's going to go for another club. Maybe he's, just going to go full time into being an accountant, the CPA and say, okay, I'm done with soccer. I had an incredible career, but I've got another career that's ready for me and I'm ready to go into that. I feel like he was always very dedicated, but he was more than soccer, right? I don't think he's a guy that soccer was his only thing. I know he's got other stuff going on in his life. I know he's a very smart guy. Like I said, he's a CPA, etc. So he didn't let that distract from his work ethic or anything like that. He always put in 100%. But I think for him, he was realistic about who he is and what he is, right? So if he wants to keep playing for the sake of the game, he'll go play USL somewhere and just do it for the love of doing it, right? I don't think he's in it for the money. I don't think he's in it to try and be, the very best. He just really loved playing the game of soccer. And you could tell that, and you could tell the way that he performed out there on a constant basis. So this is one that for many years, Luis, I was like, it's time to move on from him. And now it's actually happening. I'm kind of really sad about it because I just feel like he is such an example, and we don't have a lot of older players, especially not American ones, that can be an example to the young guys out there. So I think you see here what Alex Freeman and Mikey Halliday and like so many of these, and Duncan and some of these young players would have looked up to him as an example of, this is the level of professional I need to be. This is where I want to aspire. This is how I want to be viewed around the club, as somebody that everybody respects, everybody admires. And that's what Kyle Smith was, man. It's really sad that he's going, but again, progress. We gotta moving on from Kyle for me is a sign of real ambition that we're like, okay, we don't need you anymore because we're gonna hopefully, like you said, Luis, give more time to the youth, but they're also probably gonna be bringing in more players. Every one of these players that we don't renew is either an academy player or another signing, or maybe even a super draft pick that is going to be a new player coming in. We're not just going to start the season with half a squad. It's not how it works. So I'm excited by the idea of who is getting Kyle Smith's minutes.
It's the definition of the turning point in the culture in Orlando City. I mean, when he came, I think it was a dark cloud surrounding when he first came with James O'Connor. Probably one of the worst seasons Orlando City has had in history. Bunch of L's all over, and then he was the. I mean, it sounds like it sounds kind of weird what I'm going to say, but it's kind of like that duck that gets covered in like gasoline, like on a gas leak or something, and then you're cleaning him up with cleaning him up, make sure that he's fine, and then you save the little duckling, and then he becomes into a huge swan. That's Kyle Smith. He's the representation of what Orlando was going to be, for going from doo-doo to Dada, you know what I mean? Going from doo-doo to USL, to go back to that greatness of winning the 2022 US Open Cup. You know what I mean? He was the representation of that progress of what Oscar's culture was going to be. Profe Baena, the brothers, the brothers Fabian and Bazan and his brother, their philosophy. He was that player that went from playing for one of the worst coaches that coached Orlando City to the success at Orlando City right now, and all the good stuff that within the tenure of Oscar Pereira has happened. And again, a soldier, great guy, locker room person, a worker, and like James Beam 10 says, I agree with it with this comment here. Kyle's such a smart player. Oscar should offer him a job on the staff. If we are bringing somebody and Kyle is kind of showing him the ropes, kind of like you said in wrestling, he will be phenomenal. I will love to see him
Like
in an OT.
a team admin role too, like
Yeah,
100%, like something in the
100%,
soccer ops team. Like there's
100%,
lots of different roles. We just lost a fitness coach. I
or even
definitely think Kyle
or
Smith could be a
even
good fitness coach.
you
Like
take
there's
it.
lots of options there. I agree with that comment. I think it would be. I think he's got a real home here. Like I know I've seen him at the Publix in College Park several times. So I don't know if he wants to leave. So if he's done with his playing career and there's an opportunity to bring him on, the academy, there's plenty of positions there. I'm sure as we grow that, the pride. I mean, look what happened with Seb Hines. So there is a world for Kyle Smith here. He is loved at this club, and I would be happy to see his face around for sure. And I already hit him up, Luis, to see if we can do a Forever Alliance. So hopefully he gets back to me, and then we'll make that happen because I want to talk to Kyle.
Fantastic. Now, I do want to say that I think those moves again are for the betterment of what's coming in the roster. So, um, and we need to feel a little excited that we're freeing up a lot of these salaries. It's just definitely going to be for something much greater. And yeah, sad to see him go. I agree with everybody that says that he should have some sort of role in soccer. I've heard from Cincy fans that they're saying, hey, he's free, sign him. He's a very good utility player. He's
That
originally
would be
from
nice.
Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah,
He's,
that would be
you
nice
know,
for him. I would like that for him,
yeah. So it
but I would also
or
rather he stayed here.
right. I would rather him stay here and just kind of take a year off, get his license for coaching, and then I will give him the reins for to be the coach of OCB. I think
Yeah.
personally, I think he embodies everything good of the culture of the club.
Just in terms of minutes, Luis, I know we're talking about Kyle here, but with Rodri, this applies too. Look at how many games like he's played. He's not always a starter, but he's coming off the bench like 35 games last season, 40 in 24, 32 in 23. Like it gradually increased with his time here, but he's just a utility guy that we've used in so many roles, either starter or off the bench. And so you've lost that coverage. Like he was a great coverage guy. And so I think also Schlegel had a lot of minutes. Kyle had a lot of minutes. Dagger Dan was another great coverage, like minutes guy. So this is the thing. We have to make sure that the people we bring in are going to be able to replace those minutes. This is not like we're going to sign a bunch of potential guys that can take their time and maybe play. We're going to have to sign several players that are like going to have to put in a lot of minutes to replace the minutes that we've lost. So it is definitely an exciting time. The last thing I want to say on this is that Kyle broke the news. What time was that, Luis? It was like, I think, well, like
Yeah,
3 or 4.
himself. I mean, he broke the
He
news
he
himself.
did. I don't know if he meant to or not, but
Well, I
he kind of
mean,
he jumped the gun maybe or whatever happened there. And then the club did officially put it out a few hours later, like about 5 or 20 minutes or so before we started.
yeah, I think I think they were forced to put it out. So, um,
But
and
like if you haven't signed a guy on a new deal, right? Like I think as soon as
I
that
mean,
news is told to the player, they needs
yeah,
to be like it needs to go like pretty quickly out from there. And I know it's difficult with graphics and it takes time and everything, but just from an outsider's perspective, like from the club, and I'm sure they know this, like it doesn't look good when your players telling the fans stuff. It has to come from the club first. And I know it's difficult sometimes to make that happen, and sometimes it doesn't, but it doesn't look professional, Luis. You want the club to be the one that is making these announcements, that is leading the way. So when players reveal stuff, it looks a little bit like, oh, what's happening here?
yeah, true. I just maybe he's never been the media guy. He's always been available when there's interviews and when there's like press conferences, but he's never really. He doesn't. I guarantee you, he doesn't know that type of like you have to let the club know first. And he probably thought, okay, I'm no longer an Orlando City player. I can do what I want. I can say what I
That's what
want.
I mean, technically, right? Where's the line?
Technically, and so I'm sure they already had the graphic made and all of that,
Oh, it's a
but
minor thing. I'm just putting
right,
it
but it
up.
was probably scheduled for, it's just a lot of ins
Yeah.
and outs. But either way, I think that maybe he wanted to be the one, saying it first, I don't know. Maybe he's taking some of that,
Well,
maybe make some
there's a lot of
catharsis.
lovely messages to him and lots of nice posts and stuff on there, and like all the
100%.
players. And so, nothing. I think we're always like very gracious. I think as a fan, like even if a player we don't like goes, I think a lot of people will then hold off from saying something unless they really, feel the need to. Most of the time, it's thank yous and forever line, and we appreciate you.
We have one more comment here. Efraín Alvira says, 1362 says, Rodri, el verdadero capi, con altas y bajas, pero siempre dejó el corazón en la cancha. forever a Lion. This is the real captain with highs and lows. He always left the heart at the pitch.
I think
Yeah,
that's true. He wore his heart on his sleeve, right? He's that kind of
110%. Yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Do you have
tremendous.
anything else on Kyle Smith or Rodrigo Schlegel we want to say before we move
Well, I
on?
mean, I would love for him to stay in Orlando. Some sort of, like you said, some sort of, position within the staff. I think that'd be great. If not, I think he'll be definitely a good utility player for any MLS team. He's fit, so I mean the ball is on other teams' to score right now, and if not, I know he has a plan B. So good luck, Kyle. We appreciate you. Thank you, my friend.
Yes, indeed. All right, let's move on. Leagues Cup. It's here, Luis. I know some people are not excited about it.
Oh yeah, they're not.
But we definitely I always thought we were going to be in it again. Is this the last iteration of a Summer Leagues Cup? I think probably so,
Yes.
because I believe what will happen, and this is not confirmed, this is just me guessing, but when they make the calendar switch, I believe they will play the Leagues Cup in that break they've talked about in the south of America and in Mexico. That's my guess. So I think this is the last version of the Summer Leagues Cup we're going to have, and this one will have to be after the World Cup. So this is going to be from August 4th until September 6th. And we are one of the 18 teams that made the playoffs. If, like us, you thought we didn't make the playoffs, apparently, according to Leagues Cup, we did make the playoffs because we are one of the 18, 9 from East and 9 from the
There you
West.
go.
And then you've got 18 Liga MX clubs as well. So similar to last year, Luis, I think it's going to be very, very similar to last year.
Yeah, it's going to be very similar. The tournament is staged immediately following the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Um, it's going to be, I feel, I understand fan sentiment and they don't like it, but, teams around the world play several tournaments back to back. And like John was saying, I feel like this is the last on this particular schedule. So, and again, it's another trophy that, again, we could get some CONCACAF Champions Cup, and go play that, the Champions Cup. So, it pays, I mean, the price pays a lot, better than, unfortunately. And yeah, sometimes it is the cash. I also had a feeling that we're going to be playing it this year. I don't think we're going to not get away out of Leagues Cup.
Yeah.
Some people. I'm going to read some people. Some people are saying, for example,
The positivity.
well, yes and no. It says, I give it a thumbs down. Why is this still a thing? We'll continue to protest the games unless we play a rival or a final. And then some people just say, use it as an opportunity for OCB players and so first team non-starters. So, I mean, why do we have to partake on this cup? No one cares about it, and so and so. But I don't think, as being part of the MLS, John, it's tough to get away from that, don't you feel? In reality,
To
it's
get
tough to
away
get
from what?
from the League's Cup.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
I mean,
Apparently, being good means you're in Leagues Cup. You're punished for making the playoffs now. So if you don't make the playoffs, you suck so hard you don't have to be in Leagues Cup. So I guess that's the benefit of not making playoffs. I think several things about this tournament. One, they've changed it so much and moved it around. People are just like kind of over it. I think there's a lot of hype in certain cities where like Liga MX, and like if you're in California, right, then this is a big deal. Like I watch a lot of league wide stuff. The West Coast people, they love Leagues Cup. The East Coast people, they're like, not so much, right? So I think
yeah, they're
it's
not happy about
the
that.
Californias, like obviously the Seattle got into it last year. The often the Texas teams like it because that'll be a lot of competition there. If you're near Mexico or you have a lot of Mexican fans or Mexican American fans or Liga MX fans in your city, then it really works and it clicks and there's that hype and there's like you get the home and away vibe. I think for us, it doesn't always click, and it just kind of feels like this tournament stuck in the middle of our season. And like last year, they took time off, and this year is just. I'm gonna warn you guys now. Like this year is gonna feel horrible from a scheduling perspective because we're gonna have a smushed MLS season with a massive break for the World Cup, and then we're coming back from the World Cup to go to Leagues Cup. We're not even starting. I think MLS play is starting at the same time, but I haven't checked on that. So we're coming in back from the World Cup with, definitely Leagues Cup. Maybe our MLS tournament will also begin at the same time, but it's just after the World Cup, I just want to get back to league play. I don't want to bother with the Leagues Cup. And I think it's just going to feel like this thing that's there that we're going to have to deal with when really we're like just itching to get back to MLS because it's been so long because we've been on like a 6-week break for the World Cup. So I feel like this whole season is just going to feel very off and we're going to have this stop-start mentality where there's really no flow to the MLS season because we have these 2 tournaments in the summer that we're going to have to, just scheduling wise that will be there. The World Cup will be exciting and there will be a lot of hype coming off the World Cup. And I think that's what they're hoping is that they can roll that hype into the Leagues Cup. But those like memes you see, or it's like the little reels you see, Luis, is like no one tells you how hard it is to go from this to this, right? And it's like they put 2 different things. That's what it's gonna be like. It's like how hard is it going from the World Cup to the Leagues Cup? Like I don't get excited about this tournament. And I think because we're going to come back from the World Cup, it's going to be even worse where we're going to have rusty players that haven't played for 6 weeks. They're going to be using the Leagues Cup as like a kind of let me warm myself back up into play. And I just don't think that's going to help the quality of play either. So, yeah, not excited. Kind of knew we were in it. It is what it is. And hopefully this is the last time we have it. I think, like I said, in the future, if it is a gap filler in the winter break when they make the schedule change, then I think Leagues Cup could be a thing that we like because there's no other soccer. And, we're like, okay, Leagues Cup, is like a nice filler in this time. But as of right now, it just feels like you're shoehorning it, especially this year. Like, just don't do it. Like, we got the World Cup. Just don't do it. Just be like, yeah, we're not going to do Leagues Cup this year. But they're not going to do that because they've started this thing now. They want to keep the ball rolling. So instead, we're just, doing it all when really it's like, we could just not do this and I'd be fine.
No, I agree with you there. If it was me, I would love for this tournament to just go to Western teams. I think they could benefit for that in attendance and stuff. But money talks sometimes, and again, this is a 40 million investment, 40 million purse from 2023, and the winners win 2 million. So it's and also the automatic qualification to the CONCACAF Champions Cup, right? And so
I mean, that is nice, the 3 spots. Like that is the only thing I like about it.
Right, so the 2026 numbers aren't out just yet. I'm giving the numbers of the last one. So 2 million.
Well, they better do the same, or else what are they doing?
Yeah, just to 2 million purse. I mean, we don't know. Maybe if they increase it to 3 or 4 million, I mean that'd be insane. But definitely, it's a valuable, in a way, stepping stone for North American clubs, even Mexican clubs. They don't want to play this because, I mean, it's benefiting literally the MLS. It should be called the MLS League or something. Or
they put it in here again. Yeah, the 3 qualifying spots. It's the same again.
It's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So it's gonna be, again, it's gonna be smushed, but we need to feel confident about our team. We need to feel confident about the depth that we're gonna do. And I think we should not make the same mistakes to go ahead and line up a squad all the time. We also need to give time to the Taifis, to the Guskies. We need to start kind of putting some of the youth with a mix of the experienced and go to win it. You know what I mean? We're not gonna get away from it, you know. But would I like it to be different? 100%. Would I like it maybe to play the U.S. Open Cup instead? Of course I would. But you know, it is a tournament, and it's another piece of silverware, in a possible piece of silverware for Orlando City, with a good price purse as well, and also CONCACAF Champions Cup berth. So you know, we'll see what happens, but I'm a little scared about the depth, John. You know what I mean? You know, especially with the calendar being so smushed up. You know, but again, we cannot get away from it, unfortunately.
So, according to MLS, the MLS action returns on July 16th. But then they're saying here Leagues Cup staged immediately after the World Cup, starting on August 4th. So it's not immediately after World, it's 2 weeks later. That's why I was thinking it was right after, and it's not. So I'm right. So we're gonna come back from, I mean, oh my gosh. We're gonna come back from the World Cup. We're gonna have, we're gonna have 2 weeks of just MLS starting on July 16th or 17th, couple weekends of that, and then August 4th will be start. I don't know if they're gonna break, or I assume not. I think we're gonna be playing MLS. Like last year we had a break, but I think they're just gonna squish it all together. It's just one big, you know, MLS Leagues Cup sandwich, butter and jam all mixed together.
Yeah, man, it's a big doodle sandwich, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, it is what it is. But I just think it's hilarious. They say it's staged immediately following. It's not though. It's staged. It's not though. Because if the World Cup pause is till then, I guess does MLS start up again while the World Cup's still going? Is that what I don't know. I got to look at the actual dates of when the World Cup ends. But if, as far as this says, the MLS will be playing 2 weeks in July before we then get into Leagues Cup.
So the World Cup ends on Sunday, July 19th.
The 19th.
Yep.
So yeah, it's not immediately following Leagues Cup. You just lost like 2 weeks in August. I mean, in July, apparently. I don't know what they're. It's just typical of these organizations. They're trying to sell it like it's immediately after a World Cup. It's not.
Yeah. So it says the MLS All-Stars coming right after the World Cup.
The All-Stars on July 29th, also in that stupid gap. Yes.
Wow. Who's gonna go to that, bro?
This July is just a nightmare of like
Hey,
the World Cup is the only thing that we should care about, and then just whatever's happening after that.
Yeah. This evening, fella, says David Flood Doodler 18. Remember, Ricardo says he wants to set up this team to compete for every trophy. It's up to Bobby to rotate. I think a preseason tournament for money would be better for those not in CCC. I agree. Yeah.
I'd love to do a preseason tournament. Like, I'd like to invite some teams and do like a little preseason tourney here. That would be cool.
So during the World Cup semifinals, MLS is back.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's stupid. That's so dumb. But whatever. I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, it's only a matter of a few days, but just don't. Just wait a few more days.
100%. So stupid. I have some comments here. Our friend Sidge Taylor saying, "Hey man, I want back Chris Mueller to Orlando City as well. Dom Dwyer, Joe Bendick, and Jose Aja." And the Landon response, "Oh hell no,
I want
Sidge."
none of this.
You know, there you go.
Just Joe Bendick want to be third keeper option? I'll take that. That's
Joe Bendick. Joe
Just
Bendig is
out of
goalkeeper.
spite, just be like, come back and be third keeper option.
He's
Just an
doing good as
insulting
a
offer.
he's doing good as a goalkeeping coach now, so he'd be all right. I don't know. Who's is
Hey,
what
we
I'm
used to sell a lot
saying.
of Joe Bendick jerseys.
Oh wow. I remember the Joe Bendig years, man. Those were the years. I remember also Greeny. I remember Greeny. I
Yeah.
remember and we had some issues in the
The
goalkeeping
landlord. I
for
mean, the landlord's still kicking around. We could
yeah.
sign Earl back. Does Earl want to come back to Florida and be a third stringer again? Because I'll take him.
Bro, Tally Hall became a cop, bro. That's awesome. Tally Hall. It says bring back the
Yeah,
Orlando City Invitational, where we're the only
that
one
is
and only
true.
winner of that tournament. That's a good idea.
We used to do like, when we're in USL, I think there was more of that. I don't see the MLS clubs doing a lot in the preseason, and like we have like one or two games like last year. There's always that one season ticket member game now at the stadium. That's like really your only opportunity to watch preseason. We had the one against Miami and Tampa for Valentine's Day. That was just a cash grab. So yeah, I would like to see like a little Florida tournament, or like, invite Inter Miami and Atlanta and like Charlotte, and let's do like
The
a little mini
Rowdies.
preseason like Southeast like MLS like tournament here. Like we got the weather, invite these other clubs that don't have the weather around the league and say, let's do a little mini preseason tournament. It doesn't need to be anything like no one cares. Like I'm just saying, just play a series of games here in town in that kind of mini tournament format would make sense. And you could make some money on it as well.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. I think, looking to
I don't
different
think they
markets.
like showing the fan stuff preseason. They don't want to do that.
Yeah, plus you have this, I'm sorry I'm gonna say this, but
And I mean the
we're
coaching staff when
yeah,
I
but
say
we
that.
have yeah, but we have some of those, the Florida Cup and stuff like that they do sometimes. And they took the name the Florida Cup. I think the Florida Cup would have been a great name for do a Florida team tournament amongst all Florida teams, USL, MLS, and it would have been fantastic to do like a little tournament right there to know who's really Florida. Is Florida like, you know, who's the best team in Florida? I think it would have been great. But they took already the Florida Cup name. I mean, that's trademark now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Anything else on the Leagues Cup, Luis?
Well, yeah. No. Hopefully, like David was saying, Doodler, definitely we need to have faith in the team they're going to be building. They want to compete for every tournament. That's the sentiment. That's the vision. And hopefully, Ricardo and everybody there delivers, right?
Yes, indeed. All right, there was one more piece of news today, Luis. We have signed an OCB player.
Yeah, Justin Hilton. Yeah, it's nothing to do with the hotel chain, by the way. No, I'm just joking.
Not
No,
spelled
but
the same way.
yeah. So he's a player that is coming from our academy, Orlando City Academy, and it's signed for OCB. So OCB got the pipeline is kind of flowing. 2-year contract with OCB. So good for him. Again, he made quite an impression there for him to be promoted to OCB. So um, again, it's a matter of time to start using some of these players to start getting minutes at OCB, and then why not at some point if they're really that great, promote them into the first team on some on the events or on the games that we're gonna need a lot of depth. So congratulations to Justin Hilton. I don't know, what are your thoughts on
Yeah.
on this kid?
I mean, we saw him last year. He made 14 appearances for
Yeah.
OCB, but he was still like an academy player in that sort of like, okay, this is a young prospect. We want to give him some minutes, see if he can do it at this level. And now this year they're going, okay, we're going to fully move you up that next step in the purple pipeline to OCB. He had 6 starts during those 14 appearances. So I remember seeing him. I feel like he's a guy, from the impression I got, who's a guy that like can hustle and has got some size for his age. You know what I mean? I don't think he's afraid of the physicality. That's what I've seen. That kind of midfielder.
Yeah.
That's my one note on him.
Yeah, and
we'll
again,
see more about him.
Sorry?
So we'll learn more about him in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think the club already has the vision on bringing him from the academy to OCB. I mean, I think that that pathway is open for everybody that is excelling on that level. And I think if they saw something on this kid, I just want him to do great. He also scored he had a first goal contribution. He had an assist and on a game winning goal on June 1st against Chattanooga FC. So, it's just Orlando City's, I feel, the club's commitment into building up the pipeline, the young talent through the development system and connects the academy, OCB to the first team. So, I think it's great news. Hopefully we got more coming. Hopefully this is the season in which we see more minutes for Taifi, for Gusky, and we're definitely going to need to boost the defense this year, John. We got to now with the departures of Kyle, of Rodri. There's definitely going to be some opportunities also for Tyree Brown. And so hopefully we start getting into that and I just love that kit, man. I don't know, they should sell this kit, bro.
Everybody wants those. Like we got
with the black stripes
to make it a thing.
We have a comment
Justin
here.
Hilton. He is don't hold it against him, but he is from Miami. So another one like Alex that we have brought up here and brought into our academy and now through the purple pipeline. But I feel like he's ready to bleed purple for Orlando, Luis. So welcome to OCB, our newest signing, Justin.
100%. We have some comments. He says the Landon says the Sunshine Cup and have Florida Southern teams compete. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Sitch says, hey, you should bring back Breck Shea. I should bring back Ramos. You should bring back Kevin Molino. Pedro Rivero. Kaká. Man, bro, you're on a roll, my friend.
You're a blast from the past.
I know. Mikey D789. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. Do you guys think we're selling lots of players for Richarlison for the 2026 summer?
No,
No,
because he would be a DP anyway. So it doesn't, you can pay them as much as you want over the maximum amount they hit the salary. So you don't, in order to fit Richarlison, you don't, like, what we're doing is restructuring. That's what we're doing. We had a lot of guys, and this is something we talked about that in the Mike Ramahu interview with Ricardo on yesterday's squad. We had a lot of guys in the squad, and Ricardo says this, that were older and were developed to the point where they had commanded more and more wages on the roster, like your Schlegels, like your Kyle Smiths. And at some point you have to reload them, to use the word that they're using. And that essentially means, let's move away from them and bring in a younger placement that we can pay less money, that potentially has more growth and could actually maybe even be a better player, if not a suitable replacement for the same player, but you're paying them less money on the salary cap. And then that opens up more doors to bring in more quality players here or there, pay this player this, pay that player that. So same thing with Carlos Coronel. We're going to be paying him a lot less than we paid Pedro Galese. Another saving on the wage budget. You're able to then go spend that on another player. All of this reloading, rebuilding, restructuring is just shuffling things so that we can build a better squad within the constraints we have. And it's about time, really, because this squad, like the core of it that we're seeing now leave, is like 5 or 6 years old. That's pretty old for soccer.
Yeah, and also, if you just get rid of all the depth for just one player that, again, you got to clear up Muriel out of the books, if you want to sign somebody like Richarlison as well. Plus, Richarlison, honestly, I mean, yeah, I know that he just scored that golazo. Is there an opportunity for him to excel in the MLS? Yes. But is he that guy like that I would want personally? In my opinion, I wouldn't like Richarlison in Orlando City. Personally, myself. I'm speaking out of my opinion. It's, I'm not trying to downplay anybody's opinion. It's just that for me, I feel, Richarlison, it's really, you know, I think he's worth a little less than what he wants. But again, is he a player that could have an immediate impact like a Heung-min Son? Of course he can, but I don't know. It could be another Muriel, and then we'll be on a bind too. I rather surround myself with a bunch of Pasalics and Martino Haydas, than just having one big doo-doo sandwich, and going through the Muriel saga one more time, but now with Richarlison, and make it even more dramatic because the dude's super drama. So I really wouldn't like that. But I know that they have something under their sleeve, and I'm sure they're going to bring somebody, a big name. I really sense they're going to be a big name, and it's going to have to make sense on on the squad. It says here, David, and hopefully some college kids from Thursday Super Draft who can contribute. We've done well in drafting so far. Yeah, yeah, you're right. I think that's going to boost also OCB, in my opinion. Some of them may go to OCB. Some of them may stay in the first team. I don't know. What do you think of the Super Draft? Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I think it's really for us, like we don't know enough about college players. I'm gonna read some of the things that are usually come out about this time where people will rank and say like this player and that player and get some ideas, but really until we make the picks, then we'll come at you guys with some content on who got picked and whether we feel like they're a first team or an OCB guy, because so much can change. Like the super draft, we could talk about the order. I think that's something that is irrelevant. Here you go. So just speculating. I don't know who would pick. I mean, I think we should be picking defenders, like you said. Who those defenders are, I have no idea. I don't watch college soccer. Anybody who does, I'd love to hear it. But we have the 9th pick from Houston, and we also have the 14th pick in the first rounds. And we have the 5th pick. So we have, sorry, yeah, you're right. We have 3 picks in the first round, 5, 9, and 14. So I'm thinking a center back, a left back, a center mid, or maybe a striker, because we need a striker. We have done very well with strikers in the draft. So I would say if there's a top quality forward that we could have, maybe he's the one that we go for off the, like if there's 5th, because Duncan McGuire, Daryl DK, Kyle Larin, history has proven that we should pick a striker. Not saying that we have other needs, of course, but we don't have Ramiro. We do need a striker, and all of them have been successes. So if we have that 5th pick and there's a great striker forward out there, I would go for that as 5th. In the 9th, I would go for probably a left back or a center back, whichever one is better.
Yeah.
And then pick the other one for the 14th pick if they're still available. But I think our bet, like out of college, strikers we've done well with. I feel like center back is an easier one because you just pick a guy who's like absolutely massive and has got some technical ability. We have had some half decent, like I'm thinking of that guy who never played really for us, but we signed him from the draft. What was his name? He played for OCB a lot. I'm blanking. Someone will remember. But a left back is definitely a need. So maybe there's a great left back out there. I don't know. I'll scour the internet in the next few days and see if there's any top quality rated left backs that we might pick.
Angulo is going to play left back this year for left wingers. It ain't gonna cut it. It's not gonna work out, says James Beam.
I don't
I
want
agree with
like
you.
I don't like that. Angulo's not a good defender. I know people think he is, but that's just because he can run and chase somebody. That doesn't mean he's a good defender.
Plus, he could play both flanks. So I mean, I feel he's gonna be this season playing more on the right, not on the left. I think I have a feeling it's gonna be Pasalic, Angulo, and Caraballo. You know, because we also have to assess to see if Nico's gonna be loaned out or not. That's another thing. Nico Rodriguez. I'll send to OCB if I if I were you, if I was the club. But I mean that's just my opinion. And then on the left hand side, we got Sukata, we got Spicer, and we're gonna have also no, my bad, we got Tiago coming on as well. So we got Tiago, we got Spicer, Tiago, and Sukata. I mean that's pretty good. And then Angulo switch it to the right. I mean, I think to me, it seems pretty well depth there, right there on the wings. Three solid players. I have a feeling Sukata's going to have a monster season. Hopefully, Frankie Cosmos says, "Woo, only 230 days to Leagues Cup." There you go. It says about me to go to an Orlando City team. I will win it for you guys, my friend. Thank you. Probably on Xbox or something. Vlad Dudler says, so it's an attacking mid-box to box fullback. Heavy draft in terms of quality. There's a handful of good center backs. Yeah, I will go for center back.
Dude, look, we got to get you on and talk to us about, your insights here on the super draft. I don't know anything about the super draft. So if you'd like to come and talk to us about the super draft,
Yeah,
you're
we'll
more than
invite you.
welcome.
Yeah, feel free to DM us, David, and then we can certainly have you in the show. What do you think about Luis Otavio? Says Mikey D789. I think for the minutes he's had with Internacional on a top tier league like the Brazilian league, that's probably the top best in South America. Always competing for Copa Libertadores finals. Flamengo and Palmeiras was the last final for that tournament. They're kind of have these all Brazilian teams are pretty strong, and their Brasileirao is super competitive. The tournament is super competitive. I think for him to be a starter and having a lot of minutes for them and to be considered one of the Brazilian national team prospects on that position, I think it's a very good sign that Orlando is being ambitious on the right direction. Obviously, paying a big bid for him and outsmarting a lot of Brazilian teams that were interested already in the kid. So he has a high ceiling. I'm excited to see him play. I think for what I saw from him is that he's been, definitely a player that's going to come in and contribute right away, a high impact player. And, I can't wait to see that double pivot again that made us so solid.
All right. I found a very good article by American Soccer Analysis.
Okay.
I'm going to throw some names at you. Junior Diouf sounds very exciting. As a center forward, there's a few center forwards here. Daniel Burko, Blake D'Agostino. Those are interesting to me.
Yeah, Junior
There's a left
Diouf is
back.
18 goals, 6 assists. That's insane.
Yeah. There's some left backs here that were very interesting. Where'd they go? I think they're down here. Yes, this one, Dren Dobruna. He's a former NYCFC Academy player and is also MLS Next Pro player, fairly well-rounded, technically strong left back. I saw Alonso here in the chat was saying JC Cortez from Louisville, and he's in the NCAA semifinals.
Could
Apparently,
be.
Jesus Vicente is on this list as well.
That's a
Ernest
good pick.
Mensah Jr.
JC Chassis for Mensing too.
Yeah, there's also some good, strong center backs. Another one here, Joe McDade. He's from Colombia. He's one of the top
Oh,
prospects. So he's like a big unit of a guy. Also, Lassie Kelp Maryland is another good option. He's German and just like a massive center back. So I would like to see us maybe go for one of those. Like I said, I think for us, it depends on what positions they want to prioritize and where they feel we can get value. But 3 picks, hopefully, I think it's not maybe about the position. Maybe it's about how strong a prospect they are because we
How
kind of
versatile as
need,
well.
yeah, because we kind of need coverage everywhere. You know what I mean? So if in the 5th pick they go, oh my God, this really, really good winger or midfielder is still out there, we should go for him because he's that good and we have the option to. They might do that. I mean, a lot of it is on the fly and they'll kind of change their plan here and there. But we know about our team is, and Ricardo's always been there, is they're very good at the draft. I feel like that's something he's always kind of led, Luis. So I'm excited.
So
We'll have to see what we can get.
yeah, we're gonna do a special episode focusing on all that. The Diouf guy sounds really exciting. It
Yeah.
says
Junior
Spicer
Juve.
over Angulo per sources as Alonso. There you go. Yeah, for sure. I think that's probably a good decision. A very good decision. Ruben Perez says, "No more Colombians, please. Thanks." Look at this guy, unbelievable. No, it's okay, man. I mean, we just can't just say, we're putting everybody in one bag, I mean, plus, be honest with you, I mean, if you're
They just don't like any Colombian players now.
yeah, like if like I mean, as a Spanish, as Latino, I could tell you, if you're from Peru, if you're from Chile, if you didn't qualify to the World Cup, then you cannot talk about Colombia because they're in the World Cup, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Yes, I mean, I mean, there's some Peruvian players that are just also very, really terrible, and there's also, Cuban players that are terrible, and Puerto Rican players that are terrible, and Suriname players that are terrible. So, yeah, I just think that, we'll see. We just need, I don't think the nationality really matters. I think it's more of like how big of an impact they're going to make. You know what I mean? I think, yeah, of course, I think it's a little biased because Oscar is Colombian, but um, you've seen it with Spicer now. I think Spicer's going to get the starting spot, just like Alonso said. So, that takes, that whole argument goes out of the water. You know what I mean? So, how
Yeah.
do you guys think this season's going to go, or too early to tell? I think it's a little early to tell to me, but
Oh, if I have to say right now, I don't know. I want to hope that if we get everything right and we have a great defense and we
yeah,
figure a better striker out, right? We need
yeah.
someone to score goals, and you have Ojeda and Marco cooking like they were last year, and
And
you've
then
got Wilder
Duncan
back doing his
producing.
thing. If all of that works out, best case scenario, we're back to looking like we were in 2024. That's what I
100%.
think. I think that can happen. And I hope that Oscar isn't the problem. That's my other hope, is because I want him to be able to show that he can do it with the right team, and that last year the team fell off and that was more about them and less about him. But the jury's still, it could be that Oscar is losing his touch too. We don't know. So now that
Well,
he's going to have a brand new squad that Ricardo has built for him,
yep,
is he going to play a different kind of ball? Is he going to just do the same thing? My fear is that we build a whole new team and we still end up in ninth, Louise. And if that happens,
yep.
then the writing's on the wall, right? So I think
Right, I agree with you.
we didn't know what was going to happen at the end of last season. It was like, are they going to change the roster? Are they going to change the manager? We're changing the roster, and now Oscar really has to say, okay, I've got the team I need to go and be a lot better and be back like we were in 23 and 24 when we were. I mean, 24 we were really close. So hoping with the right moves we can be back there. But if a lot of the players we bring in don't work out, MLS is not always the easiest for new players. We bring guys in from South America. They don't always immediately work out. It depends how many of them hit the ground running and how good they are in MLS, I think. Like guys like Otavio, if he can come in and be a massive impact from the start, that's big. Like Marco was. If he comes in and
Or
looks
like
like
Cesar was.
Reed Rodriguez, yeah, like Cesar, if he comes in and looks like Nico Rodriguez, if we've got a bunch of that happening with these new players, then not to single person out, but that's the example
Right,
recently that we
right,
have of
right,
it coming in and not working out, right?
That's what
We
Ruben
we just
Perez says over
it
Colombia.
really, I think, depends on how many of these players hit and how many of them hit, like how early they hit. You know what I mean? So it's if they all hit and they hit early, we're gonna be flying. But we do need a striker, and there's the Muriel of it all.
Also, getting rid of Muriel, bringing a brand new striker.
That would be
I
massive.
think I think also seeing Duncan preparing himself physically for 2026 in his own social media, it's a good sign that he is willing to do what it takes to win.
Oh yeah, that was such a
So
sick goal.
yeah, so that is something very important. If we go back into Duncan producing, if the team goes back into the immediate impact that Otavio and Thiago are going to have, Thiago could be a potential really big deal for the club. Pasalic again with more than 8 goals in the season. You have the production coming from the left. I feel like you know you see Duncan already working. Going to work a little early, and look at that, doing all that stuff. Getting himself in shape because he knows that he's going to have to compete for that starting spot. And again, this is a player that had a lot of goals and was ready to go to Europe, right? Ready to go to ready to go to the championship. And I think he wants to go back to that particular level, and we need him to be in that particular level. So just like
He
John
looks
said,
like he's been
I
hitting
think
the gym too, you know what I mean? Like he looks like
100%.
he'd been working on making sure that he's got
Yeah,
that shoulder strength so he's not gonna have any
yeah,
issues.
yeah. So I think if that pans out the way we want to, we sell Muriel as well. Some of the key additions are working right away. Yeah, I mean, even though we don't have a Heung-min Son, we don't have a Lionel Messi, we don't have a high impact face. I think we're able to definitely be a really tough team to beat in the East, 100%. So we have more comments here. It says Kenneth Allen, Nico more concerned about his next fade than playing on the pitch. Bro, you called it. You
Slay.
can't tell. Yeah. Please sing me happy birthday in one more month. January 14th is his birthday, it says here.
All
So
right, Sis, we got you. Just
we
remind
got you.
us.
We're gonna sing you happy birthday in January for sure. But yeah, it's making moves, man. 160 people live right now, John. 160 people live.
Yeah, I think we should just kind of sum up what we've been talking about today. Of course, if you just joined us, beginning of the pod, we talked all about Kyle Smith, forever a Lion, and we talked about Rodrigo
Schlegel.
Schlegel making his way over to Atlas, and how we feel like that's a good move for all parties involved. And then we talked about the Leagues Cup that's going to be back after the World Cup ends, but the MLS season has begun, and then Leagues Cup will start in August. And finally, we talked a little bit about OCB making a new signing with Justin Hilton. So if you guys have any more questions you want to throw at us, please go ahead in the chat. We're happy to answer. We got another few minutes here. We're happy to answer those. Luis, I want to just draw attention to everybody, to all the social media stuff that we do all the time. So if you have not followed us on social media, please go ahead and do so. Luis does a great job doing all the Loud and Proud Orlando account stuff. So he runs it on Twitter and Blue Sky, and you do Facebook, and you do Instagram, and we do Threads. So if you are on any of those places, go ahead and follow Loud and Proud Orlando. You can also follow me as well. Personally, I try to do a lot of coverage and post stuff all the time. So you can follow my stuff here just as John Rollins OCSC on X, or you can follow me on Instagram. You can as just John Rollins on Facebook as well. We also post a lot in some Facebook groups. So if you like to be in the Facebook groups for Orlando City, You can find our stuff there. I also have a whole other podcast called Forever Alliance. So if you have not checked that out before, I interview ex players, people from the club. Did a great one recently with Luis Muzzi. So if you haven't checked that out, go and watch that, and you can get a bit more content over there. Of course, you can listen to us on Spotify and Apple, all the places, Luis. So I just try to let you guys know, if you've not done so, please go ahead and in any of those places you want to follow us, like our stuff, comment, talk to us there, and we will try and engage with you and interact. And sometimes we might read your comments on the show.
Yeah, 100%. And any of our social media, we'll try to read all your comments. Make sure you follow Forever Lion as well. It says Chacha's Live, bring back the Discord. Yeah, that's something that I will put on the community section for Loud and Proud. We want to, I mean, it'd be cool to have people sending memes and funny videos of us, or,
Yeah,
you
if you
know,
guys feel like you want a community place for us to
yeah,
hang out and talk, like I'm definitely open to that.
yeah.
We
I'm
can do a poll and decide where that is and
Yeah.
which app people like best.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we could do like a little survey. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I put it in the community section for the YouTube channel, just so people can decide. They do one WhatsApp, they do one like Discord. I think Discord is what a lot of people use. But yeah, we can definitely do that. We had one before, but it's just nobody was talking. So um, Mikey D says, "What about Cartagena? You guys think he'll be a regular starter?" I think he's panning out to be a regular starter. I think he's coming out really good. He's been already training even before he was announced that he's coming back. So um, I think his partner in crime now is going to be Luis Otavio. So I think the club is putting a lot of faith in his recovery. Frankie Cosmo says, "Guy to watch in the draft. There's an Icelandic striker out of Duke that has Orlando City draft pick written all over it. Ulfor Bjornsson. Wow, that's pretty Icelandic, man. That's insane. That's like
Okay.
a real
The
real
draft is like
Scandinavian.
2 o'clock, or else it would be great for us to live stream that. I would
Yeah,
love to do that with you
no,
guys, but it's literally in the middle of the day, so I don't think anybody's
yeah,
available.
yeah. I'll be working. Yeah, but yeah. I mean, that's our Facebook group as well. This except he's got some injury issues, so beware there. Yeah, true that. Hopefully not. Knock on wood. So, but yeah, we'll just keep an eye on the survey we're going to be putting up for that. But again, just follow us on all the social media on Apple Podcast, Spotify, X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, as Loud and Proud Orlando, and all our social media there also for John. Anything else, John, you want to add?
No, I think that's about everything we talked about today. I mean, it was a great to do a surprise Tuesday podcast. We'll definitely come back to you guys later this week with some content
For the
around the
draft.
super draft, and then yeah, we'll be back live on Monday, I think.
Yeah, thank you to David, Florida Doodler, and make sure that you DM us on X, and then we'll bring you in on the next episode as well. To Sitch, Mikey D, Kenneth Allen, Ruben, Alonzo as well, Landon, Sitch, Frankie, James. Thank you to all of you guys for your support. Again, if you just started to watch, make sure that you subscribe to our channel. Click on the notification bell for all notifications so you know when we're live, because sometimes we may be live at 6:30, we may be live at 8, we may be live at 9. It just depends on our free time sometimes in life. So make sure that you subscribe. And again, thank you, John, and we'll see you guys on the next spot.
Yeah, don't forget you can always watch the Pride Pod if you want to get into Orlando Pride and start following them and what they're doing. I also want to say like there's so much news right now. If this continues throughout the week, then we will be back later in the week again. Like it just depends if the club starts announcing
Yeah,
Octavio or if there's more,
yeah, we'll
like
probably be back
Tiago or
again.
any of these or Coronel. If any of these guys
Yeah, we'll be back
happen this
again.
week, we'll come back live so we can all react and be there together. And yeah, we're getting close to the holiday season, so maybe we'll do some fun holiday content for you all as well. So See
100%.
you guys soon, and vamos Orlando.
Vamos Orlando. Take care, guys. Have a wonderful day. Appreciate you.
Vamos Orlando.